I have a finance update for you today, so I'll give you that first and then we'll get into the message. Our commitment to you is that we give you 2 verbal finance updates per year, plus we also release the audited financial statements for the church, as well as Bayside Community Care and the Bayside Foundation every year as well, and I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. So, 12 months ago, I stood on this platform and gave you an update on Bayside Church's financial position. And I said, and I quote, "If I were sitting where you are, I would want to know how my church is going financially and in every other way." The truth is, things have been tight, money-wise, at Bayside Church for several years. I said, the church is still in the black because of sound financial management. We do have some cash reserves, but these are decreasing, and we wanted to let you know about this concern before making any further cuts to the operating budget. That was the end of my quote 12 months ago. When I shared the church's financial situation, we observed people stepping up to impact our fiscal position positively. I provided a further update for you last September, and many of you expressed how encouraged you were to learn that things were improving. The board has requested that I thank the entire church for your steadfast support. By the end of December 2024, we were in a significantly better position than projected at the beginning of last year. So, how did 2024 end? At the beginning of last year, we experienced a $4,000 per week shortfall in our tithes and offerings. At the end of the year, the shortfall had shrunk to $1,300 a week. That means that we finished 2024 $66,000 below budget for the last year. The auditors are currently engaged in the final review of last year's accounts, which will be presented at the next board meeting at the end of April. Once the board approves them, they will be uploaded to the ACNC website, and I'll inform you when that happens so that you can go onto the ACNC website and find a detailed report of the church's accounts along with those of Bayside Community Care and the Bayside Foundation as well. So that should be within the next few weeks. So starting 2025 has started strong for us as a church in many ways. So far this year, tithes and offerings are 2% above budget. Yes, isn't that good? I love that word above. I really do. For the year to date, tithes and offerings have increased by 14% compared to this time last year and 4% in comparison to 2023. So it's good to see the upward trend. I'm very encouraged by this, as I'm sure you are as well. The downward trend in recent years appears to have finally ended, and I'm very grateful, as I'm sure you are as well. Bayside Church has just celebrated its 33rd birthday. Over the 33 years of Bayside Church, we have had prosperous times and we have had lean times, but God has never let us down. And I love the fact that we sang that song this morning. I'm standing on the front going, yes, that's true. Never gonna let us down. So anyway, I'll leave it to the singers. All right. I'm reminded of Paul's words to the Philippian Christians. I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I want you to reflect on these words because he was writing them from prison. And, you know, let us never ever think when we think of the goodness of God that it means that everything just goes swimmingly in life. That it doesn't mean that, all right? So Paul is writing a letter from prison on the theme of joy. And he's telling the Philippian Christians, I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. And then those often quoted verses, I can do all this through him who gives me strength. And so often I hear those words just quoted in isolation. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And it's true. But consider the context. Can we go through the tough times of life in the strength of Jesus? Can we also enjoy the overflowing times of life through the strength of Jesus? And it's something Paul had learned, and we only learn this, church, actually by going through the experiences. But I look back over 33 years of Bayside Church and I see that he has never, ever let us down. And may that message resonate with all of us today. As always, the board and ministry leaders will continue to act prudently. We are managing expenses carefully to align with income, which is proving to be very effective. Thank you to each and every one of you who tithes and gives offerings to your church. Let's keep doing that together. Amen. If you are currently not tithing, would you consider doing so? In Matthew 23:23, Jesus affirmed tithing as a New Testament principle that God's people should not overlook. I encourage all of God's people to sow the first 10% of all of our increase into our church together to keep it healthy, strong, and effective. Your giving supports pastoral care and all of Bayside Church's age and stage ministries, including but not limited to children's ministry, our youth group and young adults, as well as the daily running costs of Bayside Church. The church also funds Bayside Community Care and the essential work of relieving poverty and loneliness in our local community as well as overseas. I've asked our children, and I'll wrap up with this, I've asked our children's and youth leaders, Rayma George and Caleb Goby, to share a few things that they would like to buy for kids and youth ministries at Bayside Church. So I sent them an email a few weeks ago, and I said, just share with me a little wish list that I can share with the congregation. If we had a little bit of extra finance that we could do something with, because I just wanted to sow a little bit of vision, as it were, in each and every one of our minds. And I just want to say as well, we have wonderful leaders right across the board at Bayside Church, but our new kids leader, Rayma George, is doing an absolutely stellar job in our children's ministry, which has really started to grow again as well. And that's not to say that previous leaders like Anita, they've all done a wonderful job. Rayma has come in and just lifted things, and we really, really appreciate what she's doing. And so Rayma said this: "Hi, Pastor Rob, thanks for inviting our input. If there's extra funding available, I'd love to see some updates in Kids Church to make it more engaging and fun for kids. A few things that would make a big difference. Number one, some new decor. Simple but exciting touches like neon LED lights or themed wall decals to create a more inviting space. Toys and interactive elements, a few new play items to keep kids engaged before and after the service, and a little extra flexibility for creative resources, activities, or small upgrades throughout the year. These would really enhance the kids' experience and make the space more welcoming." So that's from Rayma. Caleb says, "Hey, Pastor Rob, I really appreciate the opportunity to provide input. There are so many ways we could invest extra funds into Bayside Youth. It was challenging to narrow it down, but here are a few key areas that would make a significant impact. Number one, camp costs. We're currently working on locking in a camp and exploring ways to make it as cost-effective as possible. With extra funds, we could offer discounts for families with multiple children and provide financial support for those who might otherwise be unable to attend. Number two, an MPR revamp. So the MPR is the multi-purpose room out the back. If you've never been out there, have a wander around there after the service and have a look. This ties in with Rayma's suggestion for updated decor. We'd love to revamp the MPR with new decor, updated lighting and sound, better furniture, and a fresh coat of paint to create a more inviting youth-friendly space. And then thirdly, new and updated equipment and games. Investing in some new and updated equipment for youth nights would be fantastic. Specifically, we'd love to repair our pool table, ping pong table, and foosball table. Foosball? Foosball, okay, not football. So this is fuzzy, not footy. Oh, I love playing that. That's great. I could be very competitive at that. So the football table. Additionally, we'd love to purchase resources like a portable Gaga ball pit. I had to look that up. So I thought, is that anything to do with Lady Gaga? But apparently it isn't. No. Gaga ball pit and a 9 square in the air kit, which would benefit before both the youth and kids ministries. And so there are a few things we'd like to pursue as funding exceeds the church's budget. Finally, a reminder, and this is me now, not Caleb. Finally, a reminder about making a bequest to Bayside Church. Christy and I and others have already included Bayside Church in our wills. If you click the Giving tab on the Bayside Church website and scroll down, you'll find a section titled Leaving a Gift in Your Will. And the annual First Fruits offering is coming up on Sunday, the 25th of May. Once again, I encourage you to start planning and budgeting for your contribution to First Fruits. So as always, the board will be at the back of the auditorium after the service, so please feel free to come and chat with any one of us and let us know if you have any questions or comments. But the thing I want you to really take away from this is things are looking up, church, which is great, yeah?